wrote me and said, hey, that was a really nice song, and I'm not offended at all. Lorraine Newman was one of them. She called me up and she said, I am a Jewish princess, and that song is true and it's funny, and I like it, you know. And then another guy sent me a letter saying, well, if you think you've got problems, he sent me a clipping from some publication that showed that some time ago, when they were republishing the Arabian Nights, the ADL tried to alter some part of the Arabian Nights, which is, I don't know, historical old-time books, been around for a long time. They wanted to change the part in there about a Jew, and they wanted the publisher to modify the publication to suit.
Well,
you know,
I think the storm will probably blow itself out.
It already has, because since it is a PR organization, I mean, this might kick it up a little bit if this goes on the air again, but since it is a PR organization, I was only good for copy for their organization for a certain period of time. I mean, after you hear about Jewish Princess and you get your ADL point of view in the newspapers and run that for a while, okay, then it blows over and they're not going to get any more column inch out of it. But the thing that irritated me most about them coming after me was the fact that some people who took it upon themselves to criticize me, and I don't know whether they're authorized representatives of the ADL or whatever they were, had the audacity to accuse me of being anti-Semitic, to accuse me as a person of being anti-Semitic, which I am not, you know. And this goes into print in various places, and I have no way to refute these people. You know, I'm not going to track down every article that was in every local paper and say, no, this is not true. I mean, I like them. I have many friends who are Jewish, you know. I mean, it doesn't play. It doesn't.
And once it's out, people can say, I read somewhere where he said,
right, yeah. And there have been 2 business deals that I was involved in since the time that happened, where problems arose because people were afraid to do business with me because they felt that I was anti-Semitic. And so now it gets into a situation where I believe my rights have been violated to a certain degree by improper statements in the press by this PR firm. And if I had a lot of money and a lot of time, and if I was a vindictive person, I would go out there and sue their butts off.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm a nice guy, and I'm not going to do it. You know, you just have to realize that they have their job to do, and I have mine, and just let it slide.
Well, they do have their job to do, I guess. I mean, that's the.
Yeah, but they don't have to do it on me. They're picking on the wrong guy.
Yeah, but there probably are times when their reason for being is something that you would agree with.
Sure, but I mean, I have difficulty with the tactics sometimes, and I have difficulty with the idea of censorship. I just don't buy it.
Censorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once it seems to be that, then it's another matter. Let's see, before I leave this out, years ago I heard that you had just had a child that you had named Moon Unit, and everyone broke up laughing and thought, what a wonderful idea. Can't be serious.
Yeah, that's her name. She's 12 years old now.
What do friends call her?
They call her Moon.
Moon. Yeah.
Or Mooney.
Can you explain the name?
Or Moodin.
Did it ever occur to you that perhaps a child named Moon Unit might have certain problems with the name and with people saying?
It had occurred to me
that
a person who has a name like Mary is going to have some problems too.
But not because of the name so much, you have to admit.
Sure.
I mean, no,
how do you tell yourself from the next one?
Oh, that.
Get the drift? So
but you aren't going to have everybody saying, Mary, where'd you get a name like that?
I might.
Well, you might, yes. Who do you find weird, Frank?
Well, I wouldn't want to single out any individual and put a stigma on them. That's almost like describing them as being anti-Semitic. To have me go on television and say, this person is weird, that would be a stigma. So we better let that one alone.
Sticking the sort of label on someone that you don't want put on.
But I know some people who are weird, but I don't want to name them.
Can we wring some initials out of you? Well, let's get into that. Do people like the right kind of music, to your way of thinking? By that I mean the Presley craze, which obviously goes beyond music and has seemed to be even greater in death almost than in his lifetime, with those people still standing vigil at the tomb and the worshipers and all of that. Just speaking of him musically, is he overrated?
I was never an Elvis Presley fan. I got a Christmas card from him one time, which surprised me a lot, but you know, he probably did a mailing of 100, 200,000 that year. But I didn't really care for Elvis Presley, not for anything personal, it's just that I'm not a rockabilly fan.
Not a what?
A rockabilly fan.
Rockabilly fan.
And,
yeah.
But my theory is that music is good. It's the only religion that delivers the goods. And anybody who wants to hear any kind of music is entitled to hear that music because it's good for you. It makes you feel good. If you like it, go for it. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's a matter of personal taste.
Many people probably still wonder how, I know I do, how serious a musician you are. I mean, I know you consider yourself a serious musician. You've been called a genius, but that's a word.
I've been called anti-Semitic, too.
Well, but genius is a word that gets so easily to us, and music is often, you know, applied to anybody who knows more than 4 chords on a guitar or
That's
something.
a problem, yeah.
Hendrix was a genius musician, we're told. I've heard musicians say Hendrix did things on guitar that no one else can or has. But when you're called that, do you take it seriously yourself? Do you feel in some way you may...
It depends on who's telling me. If I think that they know the difference between a genius and a loaf of bread, then I'll pay attention to them. But, you know, the average person who comes to me and says, "You're a genius," then,
yeah.
well, I'll just take it with a grain of salt, won't I?
I should think, or at least a half a cupful. If Leonard Bernstein said it, would that cut any ice?
It depends on when he would say it.
Mm-hmm. I think any time would do.
Well, not necessarily, because he's got a pretty good sense of humor, too.
Oh, he might have his tongue in one or the other cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might stick it in. I had dinner with him one time. You probably wouldn't remember, because we were all sitting at this table at what's that place called Ratner's that used to be next to the Fillmore East. It was a deli.
Ratner's, yeah.
Yeah, and I was sitting there with him and some of the guys from Chicago, and he gave a lecture on the origin of gefilte fish. And explained how it was, I mean, I never knew where it came from, you know.
You know what the word meant, though?
That means filled or stuffed.
Sure, yeah. I guess that...
But he was talking about how they do it and going into these raptures, and he starts conducting it. It was pretty good.
Gefilte fish symphony. I often wonder with some people what their day is like, and you're one of those people. I've met you once years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do you want to tell them what happened?
I often, yeah, what did?
Let me tell you about the time that I met Dick Cavett. See, I had never seen your television show before. This is what, 1970. Yeah, I'm the only one who had never seen this show before. I didn't know what he looked like, and we were supposed to play on the show. Whenever you do live music on television, it's lots of luck, believe me, especially in New York. So we had done this sound check in the afternoon. All the instruments are set up. The drums are set up. The amps are set up, right? And the rest of the guys in the band had gone out to get something to eat. And Ainsley Dunbar was the drummer in the band at that time. And he was a very fussy person about having anybody touch his drums. And so I'm waiting around the studio, and I hear this banging on the drums, and excuse me. And I look over, and there's this guy. He had a little cap on and a muffler, and you're sitting at the drums, and you were playing Ainsley's drums. I say, "Hey, you better not do that. Ainsley's going to be mad."
I played with a guy's drums?
Yeah.
I thought I always knew better than that.
And he said, "Don't worry, it's my show."
That doesn't sound like me at all. Could that have been Ed Sullivan?
Well, it would have been a good story if it was Ed Sullivan. He'd been dead for years.
Even then.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about rock then and now? This sounds like the terrible title for a magazine article or something, but I know a friend of mine went to London some years back to cover music for a magazine, and when he got there, they said somebody who'd been writing that sort of thing said, "You got here too late. It's all over with rock. It's dead. It's gone."
I heard that in 1956 or 57 when the articles were coming out in the paper saying, "It's over, forget it, Calypso is the thing." And that lasted about 15 or 20 minutes, and then after that there was the rumor that Fats Domino was dying of cancer of the throat. You ever hear that one?
You hear that about so many people, that sort of thing.
You know, it's the Paul is dead syndrome.